Here we have an aerial photograph made on the 23rd of March 1945 by the US Air Force. This is just over a week before this area was liberated, and this is a photograph of the Niederhagen concentration camp, and which shows it to quite well in fact. And here we have a model. The model shows the concentration camp and not the entire complex, because in the lower part of the complex is in fact these were SS barracks and housing and what have you. Now the camp itself did not have a very strong role by this time. It was built in, was opened in May of 1939, and it was large in 1942 when it sort of grew in order to build the Wewelsburg castle and all the other things around it. In January 1943, just before Goebbels' total war speech, which happened in March, and in fact during the Stalingrad battle, the construction of non-essential things was actually dropped, even though the architect Bartels continued to believe this would be built even as late as April of 1945. Now, coming to the concentration camp itself, a number of things that I would like to actually point out. The first of all, below we have, this is the SS housing, which is very typical. You can see this in many other camps, such as Auschwitz, Stutthof, and many other places, where the barracks were outside the camp, just outside the camp. It was, in a way, it became part of the camp's protection. Well, protection is probably not the right word, stop the prisoners escaping, the defences, whatever. Then you have the main gate, a very typical main gate. You see that, for example, Auschwitz, Flossenburg, other places. Now, coming inside, we have a variety of buildings. First of all, I want to point out there's the bunker, which would have been the prison of the camp. We have a number of prisoner barracks. There we have the prisoner kitchen, which seems to be, this is a brick building, as is the main gate, but the rest, everything else would have been of wood, although the brick foundations for the barracks themselves, which was quite normal. Now, very curiously enough, is the water retention tank, which is bang in the middle. Now, the water retention tanks in some camps were a really important feature, for example at Gross-Rosen, and it was fire regulations of the time sort of made it absolutely essential. In this case, even though the retention tank, for example, is not all that big, it really does dominate. And this comes up even in the photograph, if you can see that there. I'm homing in on it now. You can see from the aerial photograph how important it is between the two prisoner barracks, with its bridge over it. Maybe it wasn't all that ornamental, maybe it was quite important. A second water retention tank is here, just outside the camp. Now, I want to point that out as for those who sort of claim things like the water retention tank at Auschwitz, for example, which was also used as a swimming pool by the SS. But those who sort of claim it was only at Auschwitz, well, here, I mean, Birkenau's got quite comparatively large, but not as big as this. That makes it very, very clear. This was a camp, of course, that had more experience of camp building and what to do and what was needed by the time this was actually constructed. Other things which are absolutely typical, double barbed wire fencing. I see that very clearly, Auschwitz, Stutthof, and other places. Administration buildings outside of the camp. The camp itself was a couple of kilometres away from Wewelsburg Castle. Around 4,000 people were housed here, worked here, slave labour. The official title of the camp was a Schutzhaftlager, which is a protective custody. Protective custody meant protective, so the poor victims of the camps, they were being held for for their own protection, according to Nazi mentality. Of the 4,000, or nearly 4,000 inmates, around 1,260, I think it is, are known to have died for certain, and the others, the fate remains unknown. There were survivors, of course, but the exact amount is not known.